and gentlemen, introducing America.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the show, the Triple Threat Vet Podcast, Thursday, 7 p.m. Thank you all for falling in. It looks like we got a full house tonight. I see Matt Johnson in the green room, yeah, and our guest, Elizabeth Johnson, with Honor Her Foundation. So let's go ahead and get started. I want to give a big shout out to our guest from last week. Matt Jablonski basically came on and gave a master class about the VA mortgage, VA loan, veterans. It's Project 87. 87% of the people that are qualified for the VA loan don't use it. Great show. That's last week's show, Matt Jablonski. This is Don Massey, and he's a Command Master Chief, retired U.S. Navy. His episode came out on almost 3 years ago now, episode number 12. You can catch our back catalog on Amazon Music, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. I want to give a shout out to our guys over at Got Your Six Culture, sameflagsameoath.com, veteran-owned business. They do exclusively all the gear for the podcast. We appreciate them. Big shout out to Becky Jo Art. She's got some cool stuff going on. She's doing the funny thing with the AI Barbie. That shit's hilarious. Love her social media, Becky. All right, our friends over at Project Zero got all kinds of good stuff going on. They are packing up their classes. They're filling up quick, so check out those dates. Go to projectzero.com and check them out. They're out here doing shark fishing, man. Adventure therapy. Project Zero doing wonderful stuff for veterans. We love talking to Kyle Shudik. As a matter of fact, I'm struggling. This is a review that came in for their project a couple weeks ago, I guess. I'm struggling to find the right words to thank you for this past weekend, but thank you feels like a start. To Kyle and every single volunteer at the Project Zero, you didn't just plan an event, you created a sanctuary. Living with the daily weight of anxiety, depression, PTSD, and the physical toil of fibromyalgia and recent surgery, my world often feels small and guarded. I ride with my walls at an all-time high, my anxiety redlining at 10,000. At the moment I stepped onto the beach, the walls started to crumble. Camaraderie and the raw, shared stories remind me that I'm not alone. When I was reeling that 5'6" black tip shark, pain and mental noise simply vanished. In that moment, I wasn't my diagnosis. I was just me, alive and present. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that I am supposed to be on that beach with all of you. You have made a profound, permanent impact on the dash of my life. Thank you for bringing me back to myself for an amazing weekend. I am a shark fisher. That's so cool. Big shout out to what's going on with Project Zero. Also, you can join Project Zero at Project Halo Brewing on 9 May. They're going to be $40 all you can eat crawfish. Come out and check it out. Again, projectzero.com. This week, I'm going to read her bio here in just a second. Before we bring her on, we got Elizabeth Johnson again, Navy veteran. Honor Her board of directors. I know I see Al Hero. I'm about to turn you over to Matt Johnson. What's going on, brother Matt?
Oh, not much. I took a 2-week sabbatical. Sucked. Last week's sabbatical was not my choice, though. Shout out to Cole. Hopefully you have a truck that works and it's not a fucking 3-ton paperweight after this week. But it's good to be back. I missed being here. I missed being around everybody and talking to amazing guests. So I can't wait to do that this week. It's going to be a good time. But yeah, as Ty said, Project Zero, crawfish boil, day before Mother's Day. You know that all the moms need to take a break that weekend. So what you need to do is bring wives, moms, grandmas, all of them to Project Halo Brewing so they can get crawfish so all the dads can drink beer to get through the weekend. That's what you got to do. I think it's a good idea. And with that, let me turn it over to Hero.
Shout out to all the mamas, babies, mamas, all y'all. For all the mamas out there working hard on that pole, you keep doing what you do, girl. That shit matters. Nah, so really don't have a crazy rant today. I do want to just talk to my parents out there in the world and just say, if you got ugly kids, please stop posting their pictures on Facebook and social media. We don't all want to see that. And some of y'all know. You know if your kid's ugly. I've got some kids. I know which ones of mine are ugly and not very attractive. Deep down, I know which ones they are. Won't say their names out on the show, but you know who you are. Son, you know who you are. You're ugly, and it's all good. I love you. You're still my son. But am I putting your ugly ass Facebook post on Facebook? Am I putting your face out there for the world to see? And I'm putting you out there for people to clown me because I got an ugly ass son with a long neck. You know what I'm saying? And collarbones that poke out of his shirt. I don't know. But just stop posting ugly ass kids on social media for me. Appreciate that. And we'll jump back in with the fellas.
All right.
I see it all the time, bro. You know it's true. Like people are like, this is my dog, this is my son, little Igor. You're like, damn, Igor, ugly as shit. And they got him all.
And then they named him Igor, so they already knew what the photo was gonna look like.
Then they do the baby pictures where they're like laying up and like crossing their little hands and like they got a big ass fucking flower on their head. I'm like, damn, bro, that flower. Like, oh, that didn't help.
That's called. I don't know if a lot of hair's coming in their life.
That's
so
bad,
they
bro.
Have to cover it up.
Stop posting. I know we all got some ugly kids, and sometimes it just happens. Like, I mean, it's part of life. You have one that you're like, it's probably not my most beautiful child, but I mean, I love him anyways. You know what I mean? I'm not putting him on Facebook. You know what I'm saying? I'm just not. Put my daughter on Facebook, but I'm not putting my son on Facebook sometimes. You know what I'm saying?
That's hilarious. Bob says, Al, you need therapy.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Bob.
Al says, tried it.
I've been there.
Work.
I tried it. Went for 45 days. Didn't help.
It did. You're still
here.
You
know what helps, Bob?
Able to be a human.
Whiskey helps.
Beth Harris checking in. Good evening, guys.
Hey, Miss Harris.
What kind of whiskey is that, buddy?
It's Blanton's because it's all I have. And it's, you know what? It's for the price. Nothing against Blanton's. It's good. It's good whiskey. Like it's smooth. It tastes good. Like I like it. But for the price, I think it's. There's other whiskeys out there for half the price that are just as good, just as smooth. So I'm drinking Blanton's because that's what I have a bottle of. And April was like, "How much you spend that bottle of whiskey?" And I was like, "It was on sale. It was like $150." She was like, "Not happy, bro." Like she was not a happy camper when I walked out. When I walked out of the liquor store with the bottle, she was like, "How much was that?" Don't ask questions you don't want to know the answer to, woman.
Babe, it was the same amount as I pay for all the other bottles. How much is that? I never tell you, so why are you asking this time?
Yeah.
I didn't ask how much your $800 nails cost. I know that's what you were saying.
I'll tell you what happened this weekend, too, because it's a really sad story. I called Ty after I did it. So I made a brisket this weekend. Bro, horrible. I undercooked it. I knew I did because I was like, yeah, I'm going to run it at about 225, 250. I'll give it. And I did it. I knew it when it wasn't probe tender. I was like, I'm going to pull it. It'll be fine. That shit was not fine. That shit was not edible. That shit was shoe leather. And my wife gave me down the road, bro.
I heard it in the background.
Yeah.
Al called me to tell me about it. And she's
bro.
getting all over him. I could hear her in the background.
Okay, but Al,
hey, Matt. TMI. I was like, hey, we should maybe we should mess around tonight. She was like, why? You already fucked the brisket. I was like, well, there we go. There we go.
Dude, April is a gangster, bro. That shit is hilarious.
Oh, bro,
listen though.
Remedy, very good.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there you go. Al.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need you to correct that brisket fucking because we cannot have that.
I knew what I did. Competition brisket is different. I bought for one. I was an idiot and bought
if you say it's different. The fact that you fucked one up that your family's gonna eat, you can't be sending a fucked up one to the judges.
I called Carlos and was like, bro, I was like, I need some love. Like I'm really down on myself right now. And he was like,
whatever, bitch. Click.
Yeah, he gave me the business too. He was like, dude, like you should have known better. Like you didn't rest it long enough. I was like, I know all the stuff I didn't do. Trust me. I know.
Amen, brother, but help me out here, you know?
And then he was like, well, just tell your wife, put it in the crock pot, let her finish cooking it in the crock pot, and you make sandwiches out of it. It'll be delicious. I'm like, sounds good. I left the brisket on the counter overnight, so I ruined it. Like I ruined $100 slab of $100 slab of meat.
That thing, bro.
No, bro, my wife's not finna eat some shit. I left that overnight in a Ziploc bag
I'm saying
on the counter.
You
dude.
sloppy seconds the brisket. You fucked it once, and then you did it again by leaving it out overnight.
I did.
Dang.
She was my ugly prom date, and it was bad.
That's all right. We all have.
I still did it, but it was bad.
Yeah,
Shout out to Calzada with 1513 Cookers. I'm sure he's going to help us out at the Dana Dietz. And then he just started a new business, 1513 Landscaping. So he's going to be out there getting it in throughout the week as well.
There you go. Well, I think Al, you're just gonna have to unfuck yourself, right? You're gonna. I am. I got to the basic shit, mate. We ain't got time for this. All right.
I know. I already know. Yeah. I beat myself up. My wife beat me up. Everybody's beat me up. Bob, you're right. But even the dogs probably wouldn't have ate it, bro. That's how bad it was. Like I don't even know if my dogs had been like, nah. You
don't ever feed your dogs. They're hungry as shit. They would eat it.
That's April's dogs. So there we go. That's her responsibility to take care of these dogs. I love Miss Harris. She said the filter she sent me never arrived, apparently.
And then she gave me just kidding.
I love that woman.
Yeah. Well, Ty, I say, now that we know Al is on probation for brisket, and everything else is right in the world, what do you say we read a bio and bring on our guest?
Yeah, absolutely. So big shout out to Brass and Anchor Bourbon. I'll be buying some more of your product very soon. Highly recommend. There's a QR code in the top left of the screen. So go ahead and give that a click with your smartphone and check that out. That is a Navy veteran-owned business. Biography of Elizabeth Johnson. Elizabeth Johnson was born in Homestead, Florida in 1991. She lived most of her adult life in South Florida, enjoying the sunshine and great food. After completing 2 years of education at Florida International University, she decided to join the U.S. Navy. In 2015, as a CTRSN, she completed Basic A school training at IWTC Corey Station, Pensacola, Florida. Her first duty station was at the USS Bonhomme Richard in Sasebo. Sasebo is
right next door. It's like it's the cousin of Sasebo, so we're good.
Yeah, this we'll go through this part of her bio with her, but like all of her duty stations, and the end part here is Elizabeth is married to Martez Johnson, a retired U.S. Coast Guard Chief Petty Officer. Together, they have 2 young children and reside in Pensacola, Florida. Elizabeth is camping, cooking, reading, and community involvement.
So just to talk a little bit about like her rating, CTs, they're super smart. So she's smarter than everybody on this podcast. Guarantee it without a doubt.
Hey, bro, her recruiter was like singing to Jesus when she joined the Navy, dude.
CTR, bro.
Yeah. He was like the station and division hero that month, dude.
Oh, he was the man. Or she was, whoever it was.
100%. Until the next day when he started over and he sucked again, but whatever. What tornadoes in Texas? That must have been in a country area.
Watching things today. I have to check in on that.
Hey,
that must have been up by Oklahoma.
Before we bring her on, I want to give everybody a piece of advice too. Never, ever, ever, ever in your life ever challenge a Brit to a drinking competition. Ever. Don't ever do it.
Shit.
Don't ever.
When did you do that?
This week, when I was up in Malvern this week. When I was working, and I challenged a guy like, I'll drink you on the table, bro. I'm from Florida. That's what we do. And did not end well for me. He was right as rain.
Yeah. Did you just say you challenged a dude from England to a drinking contest?
I did. I didn't
That's
know
all those bitches do is drink beer, dude.
He was like, I've been drinking since I was 12. I was like, oh shit, I'm in trouble. It was that moment I knew. I knew. Oh, damn. I knew, bro.
Why didn't you call me that day? I would have loved to have like seen that.
When he was drinking whiskey, beer, and wine just at dinner, I knew it. I was like, I'm in trouble. He's had the trifecta. He's had it all. And he's good to go. I sadly pulled an Irish goodbye that night.
Nice.
Like they were still out there, and I was like, I went to the bathroom
again, which he doesn't respect.
To see the soap dish was like, oh yeah, it's time for me to go. I snuck away.
But right before we bring on Liz, how many stuntmans did you do?
0.
What?
I'm
There was a
retired.
British dude in your presence and you didn't do a stuntman?
Because he knew what they were. He's done them. So I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Well, y'all should have done it together. He was
No.
talking shit about drinking.
I did 0 because it was already too late. It was too late. Stuntman would have put me over the top, bro.
Well, you weren't gonna win, so fuck it. Go out with a bang, dude.
God should have. I should have.
Damn it.
You know what?
You know, the fact that you didn't do the stuntman and go out as a hero, like your last name, is why you fucked that brisket this weekend.
I did.
Because you decided not to take the opportunity, bro. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
I was gonna beat him at his own game, and I lost miserably.
Yeah, so you should have just done the stuntman and been like, "Oh, you can't do that." What you would have won?
Oh, it was bad. It's bad. It's bad at all. Anyway.
All right. Well, now Liz is probably like, "Oh shit, why'd I come on this podcast?" So I would just say, let's go ahead and bring her on before she's like, "I gotta go, guys."
Before she leaves the green room, like, exit stage left. She was in the Navy, bro.
I mean, her husband's a Coast Guard chief. She knows. She's ready.
Yeah, she was in the Navy. Her husband's a Coast Guard chief. I mean, let's be serious. She knows. She's a CT. Yeah. They drink too. CTs can drink too. Don't let them fool you. I have a neighbor who's a CT, and that dude's like begging twisted teas like there's no tomorrow. And I'm like, oh,
twisted tea,
bro. He smashed twisted teas at like 6, like the heavy ones, not like the little, like the twisted teas are like twisted tea beasts, like the 12% alcohol twisted teas. Like he smashed them like, I don't know how he does it. It's gross.
Nice. Well, yeah. Hello, Liz. Welcome to the podcast. How are you, ma'am?
Hey, good. How are you doing?
Doing great. So, are you rethinking it? Are you ready or what?
Oh no, I'm ready.
Nice. I love that. Well, first we just want to say we really appreciate you coming on. It was really actually good that when you reach out to an organization, you guys responded so quickly. Just be not only yes, we want to come on to talk about what you guys do, but also the fact that a lot of you in the organization are veterans helping veterans. That's another reason that we love to tell those stories here. But as we get into that, Ty read a little bit of your bio, but we like to do for our audience is to kind of help them get to know you a little bit better. So if you don't mind, we already knew from the bio, you grew up in South Florida. Where did you grow up in South Florida?
Homestead. So I primarily grew up in Homestead. I spent most of my days driving into the Keys and fishing. And I actually saw you guys put on here like shark fishing. Like I did a lot of that growing up. So spent a lot of time down there. I didn't leave South Florida until I joined the Navy, and I joined the Navy a little bit later. I was 22 or 23 when I joined. So I lived in Florida most of my life.
So did you join out of the Homestead recruiting station?
We didn't have one in Homestead. We had one in Cutler Bay. So maybe about 20 minutes from there. But yeah, I joined out of
So you
South.
Joined out of the Key West office?
No.
Where was the Cutler Bay office? Oh, you went to Perrine.
Yes.
Yeah, Perrine. Okay. Because I was in Kendall when I recruited in Miami.
Okay.
Well, actually,
Key West would have been way too far.
Yeah, for sure. So before we get to joining the Navy, you said you did fishing, you did all that. What got you into all those activities? I mean, living in South Florida, if you're not around in water, then you must be allergic to it, I guess, because in South Florida, that's what you do. But like, what other kind of why was that your interest? Is that something you like doing, or is there other things you did growing up? How was it for you growing up in South Florida?
I feel like fishing was kind of like the gateway outdoor activity. That was always like the most simple thing that my family could do. So we grew up, that was like the activity we would look forward to coming to the weekends. And, it's always simple. You just get a couple of rods, you get a little bit of bait, you go out there. And so growing up, constantly going fishing and, eating what we catch. As I got older, that kind of just expanded. I went from fishing to kayaking to hiking and just really enjoying the outdoors in that sense.
And so this is all while you were growing up, going in high school. So then being an outdoorsman, basically outdoors woman, doing those things, fishing, hiking, doing all that. What got you interested in joining the Navy?
So actually, I guess I'll keep it here. I'll make it a little bit more real talk. Since I was a little bit older, I think, like I said, 22 or 23, I was kind of lacking purpose. I had a couple different jobs. I had been a martial arts instructor. I had worked for a chiropractor for a period of time. And then I was also working at like the Honda dealership in the service department. And at some point I was working all three of those jobs, you know, and especially in Miami, and thinking about it, you know, however many years ago, it was already expensive to live out there. So I didn't really have any purpose. I was like doing a lot of drinking. I was working probably more hours than I was getting sleep. And I think one day I was just kind of like, I need to do something. It just kind of felt like I wasn't going to quite make it out of Miami if I didn't, you know, take myself out of there. And so I walked into the recruiting office, got all the information I needed. They actually tried to put me in. I went and took the test for nuke, and they were like, yeah, you want to be a nuke? But I had like one friend in the Navy, and he was like, if they try to make you a nuke, tell them no. And I was like, okay. And that was all I knew. He was like, just, you know, try to go for something intel or something like that. And I was like, all right, man, well, we'll see how it goes. And I still remember to this day, I don't know how familiar you are with Latino cultures or anything like that, but it's like, you know, the struggle to gain your independence tends to happen a little bit later with us. And, you know, growing up, I always remember my mom like ripping up the military postcards that they would send in the mail to like try to recruit you. And she's like, you'll never go to this. And so, you know, when I told her, I was like, hey, you know, like I'm leaving. I've already made the decision. You have the option if you want, you know, to go in and ask your questions, but this is the date and I'm going to go. It did not go over well. But, you know, it wouldn't be
especially because you didn't bring her with you.
Right. Yeah. Well, you know, I think it's like, you know, and I love my parents to death, right? But like, you know, when there's people around you that are going to keep you still. And I did feel like if I would have taken my mother with me, I think she would have found every reason to keep me there. And I knew I had to leave. So that's why I went and did all that, you know, on my own and made the decision on my own. But it did cause a lot of friction. Like my mom and I don't even think we talked until after I left my first duty station.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you know, they're trying to keep you safe, right? And it's all about family. And I remember being in South Florida recruiting. We were told, all of us white guys, if you're going to interview Hispanic girls or guys that are going to join the Navy, you better make sure the mom or the grandma's in the room. Because if they're not, I don't give a shit who you've talked to. Ain't nobody doing nothing unless mom or grandma says yes. And like that was it. I don't care how old they are. Like they could be 30. You still got to talk to mom or grandma. I was like, what? And then you figured out real quick, right? Very tight, very close. Yeah. So your mom, she held the grudge, huh?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And I think just like everything happened pretty fast after that, you know, because like we go to school for a very long time. So, you know, like I went to school, I went to my first duty station, and before you knew it, like I was like, you know, hey, I'm married. My husband and I, we served in two different duties. Like he was out on deployment and I was out on deployment. So the first couple of years of our marriage, we were just out to sea, you know? And so I just feel like so much.
I mean, wait a minute. You were out to sea. He was in a puddle jumper local. You don't
Let me do this really quick. Let me turn my camera because there, you see all that? Most of those are my husband's.
Did he go through induction? Did he go through the season? That's all I want to know.
Oh yeah. But he has like more like line crossing certificates than I do. So he's been out to sea.
Okay,
nice.
I stand corrected. I won't talk shit about those. I stand, and he might beat me up, so I don't really want to get beat up. So we'll just leave it at that.
That's funny. So let's rewind a little bit before we get to. I'm super interested to hear about how you guys met. Actually, right? Like both two different services, but so joining the Navy, leaving out. So you were 3 jobs, working hard, independent, trying to make it. What was it like for you leaving Miami, leaving, you know, family is always around. They're always there to help. And now you're boom in the Navy on your own. What was that transition like for you?
So this actually, it plays very well into why I was invited here today, because one of the things that was happening before I joined is like my mom and I already had quite a bit of friction. And, she was like, listen, like it's my way or the highway. And I ended up out in the streets, you know? So it was like couch hopping or like sleeping in the car. And, I carry that experience with me quite a bit because I will never forget, you know, making it to boot camp and that first night you get to go to bed after they've kept you up, you know, and I'm just like, man, I'm in a bed And it was like the first time I had felt a sense of security for a while. And I took a lot of comfort in that, but I also didn't take it very lightly. I think that my experience before I joined the Navy is the reason why I went so hard when I officially joined the Navy. You know, like everything I did with like 210% effort. Because I always felt like, hey, this is that thing that gave me purpose, that gave me security, and I gave it my all.
Yeah. So for you, if you don't mind, so what was it about? How long were you living out on your own like that? I mean, couch to couch, jumping and all that. Was that after you joined the Navy, before you went to boot camp? Was it a time before you had all the jobs, or were you trying to work the jobs to make it work? I mean, because it is expensive to live in South Florida, but if you don't mind, if you can, talk a little bit about that time of trying to figure it out, not having the home to go back to, living on the street. Like, what was all of that like for you? And like help people kind of realize, you know, you went from, like you said, trying to figure it out to like, you mean I get a bed? Oh, and you're going to give me food? Oh, I'm in. Let's go. Yeah,
basically. It was after I had made the decision to join. So it's like I could kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel. Some of that friction was like my mom had decided to sell the home and she was moving to Texas. And she's like, well, you're coming to Texas. And I was like, definitely not. Like, you know, we've already been beefing. It's not going to happen. And so she left to Texas. And I think the only people I really had left in the area was, you know, my grandmother. So going from there, I spent about 2 to 3 months kind of couch hopping and doing all of that. And I just remember like one of the feelings I really carry with me, even well into my service period, is just like, I always remember just feeling so thankful for those people, because the people who allowed me to stay in their homes or like gave me a place, like it wasn't just like, yeah, sure, you can use the couch. Like I had people, I remember it was at one point, it was during the holidays, and like they had gifts for me under the tree. You know, it was just like they really took me in as part of their family. And I don't know if some of that is because there's a lot of people who experience that, especially in Miami. We see that quite a bit. Or, you know, if that's just part of who they were. But either way, it's something I've always been really thankful for. Once I was in the Navy and I got to boot camp, like I said, that first night being able to lay in bed, I was super happy. But I think it also gave me a very different perspective. Like it was already strange because I was already older than most of the people at boot camp, right? And so seeing a lot of these young women like kind of struggle and just trying to like assimilate to being in some sort of structure. Meanwhile, I'm there and I'm like, oh yes, structure. Like this is what I've been wanting my whole life, you know? I think it kind of helped me bridge that gap for a couple of the young girls and I think really get my first taste of kind of mentoring in the Navy before I even realized what it was.
That's a good point. So you were like, you guys are looking to get away from all the rules. I know what that's like, guys. Yeah. And it sucks. You want the rules. It's so much better, right? Because it's, you know, it's a different perspective. So were you in leadership roles while you were in boot camp due to the fact that you had life experience and all that? Or were you one that where you're like, I'm just going to kind of stay quiet and do what I got to do here? How was your boot camp experience? Especially saying, you know, I was able to mentor before I knew what that was.
So I laid pretty low for the most part. And I was part of we were a co-ed division, and what do they call them? Like 900 divisions or something.
Oh, yeah. We
were like the flags
recruit companies playing with flags and dancing.
So we did a lot of marching and all of that. And I think, so my RDC, the one I remember the most, because he's actually in the CT community, I feel like he knew I was a bit more mature than everybody else. And so he was really trying to find the ones he could like challenge and put on the spot. So he kind of just pushed me to the side. And it was also snowing, which wasn't really great for me. That was my first time experiencing snow out there. And so I think one of my first jobs that I definitely got fired from was guide on, because I had never walked in the snow. So they had me in the front of the formation trying to hold this flag, right? And every
look, us short people have the short end of the stick at boot camp, dude.
No, they were like, you know, we'll make it there if Santiago decides to walk anytime soon. And it was like the entire time I would take a step, slip. And I was like, man, this is the worst.
Oh my goodness. That's so funny. Well, I mean, they probably, when you're looking at being in boot camp like that, he probably left you alone because he was like, there's no there's no bad habit to break here, right? You kind of already left all those bad habits and realized what you have. Let's go concentrate on all these people that don't know what that's like. And so that's good. But, you know, it probably would have been better, hindsight being 2020, if they put you in charge of something and made you like run people through that. You know, that's what I remember when I was in boot camp, like, and I just assumed it's because they were old as shit back when I was 18 years old. You know what I mean? Like, oh, they put all the old people in charge in boot camp. But then you realize it's like, you know, they're experienced, been through some shit. But I always remembered they took like the youngest guy and one of the older guys and made them both in charge. And you were like, oh shit, this isn't going to work, right? Because, you know, they beef all the time. So you're teaching people immediately, like you have to work together in order to get through this. So.
And the cool thing is that my RDC at that time, he was CTM1 Bennett. When I came back to Corey Station to be an instructor in 2022, a year after I got there, he showed up. And so he showed up. He's a CTM Senior Chief Bennett at that point in time. And I was like, I have to make time to go and talk to him. And of course, you know, I go and I find him. And it's like, you know, your RDC, when he's your RDC, is like a completely different person, right? And I figured because we were in the CT community that we would always run back into each other. And so I finally catch him in the office and he's like, you know, we're talking, we're catching up. And I was like, hey, you know, I just feel like I have to tell you, like, I was always so thankful for making it to boot camp. And even though it's like the attention was never like right on me for me to learn something from him, I still feel like I learned so much from him. Like he took so much time apart from like the standard, you know, boot camp instruction to just tell us about the fleet and just tell us about the Navy and tell us how to not be shitty people or shitty sailors. And, you know, I told him like, I really carried that stuff with me and it helped me be successful in my first duty station and my second duty station. And that I'll always be forever grateful. And, you know, I let him know like, dude, I was couch surfing before I made it to boot camp. So like, it really changed my life. And that interaction with you as my RDC changed my life. And like, it was just the most beautiful response to be able to bring that stuff back full circle.
Yeah. Not many people meet their recruiter and or their RDC later in their careers and are like, I really want to go talk to him because he's cool. Most time it's like, I'm going to go mess this dude up. You lied to me. You were an asshole. You know what I mean? So it's good that you had a good experience, you know?
But you know, what's interesting is that he said, you know, you would be surprised. So many people tell me that they were experiencing homelessness before they joined the Navy.
Mm-hmm. We had a guy in Cleveland, Ohio, who would live in a homeless shelter, and he would walk to the station to go to debt meetings and stuff. It was crazy. Like he literally lived in a shelter the whole time he was in debt. He was in a shelter. We'd go pick him up, or he'd walk or skateboard if it was sunny to the office. And I think years later, he ended up making. He was a BM, so he made like first class, and he made chief. And he reached out to some of us and were like, "Hey, just want you to know I made chief." It's crazy. But he was literally living in a homeless shelter.
That is, I feel like, I don't know, there's no other drive. I mean, I'm sure not everybody responds the same way, but to know what it feels like to be at like your bottom or your low and to have an opportunity and to see people take a chance on you and to feel what it feels like for people to support you, to make a big decision, to change your life around, for you to do better. Like there is nothing like that experience in there. I don't think there's any better motivation to do well at whatever opportunity you get that comes out of that. But that's a big reason why I'm part of the H.E.R Foundation, because that's a big part of what they do. You know, it's not just like the sisterhood situation. Like I feel like any woman that I meet that comes into the H.E.R Foundation, I have already met her. I already know her in the sense that we know, you know, what we've experienced while we were in the service. We know what the challenges are, you know, when you get out. I may not know her specific experience, but I know enough to be able to empathize and to help and to guide, you know, onto that next step.
Yeah, definitely. So let's go to next topic of interest for me is, how did you and your husband meet, being a Coast Guardsman and a Navy sailor? Where did you guys meet? How'd that work? And you just straight jumped to when we were married, our first deployments. Like you skipped a lot of the story.
Christian Mingle. They met on Christian Mingle.
I mean, we had really similar circles of friends. I mean, especially with him being Coast Guard. So I always knew of him before I even joined the Navy. You know, that was part of like when I joined much later, I already had pretty much my social life and my social circles. What I didn't know was very many people in the Navy, but Coast Guard's pretty big out there, especially Fort Lauderdale, Miami.
So you knew him before you joined?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And so we had always kept in contact, and with becoming a CTR, because so originally when I joined the Navy, they tried to make me an ET and at the classifying stage, right? And I was just like, well, I don't want to be an ET. I want to be something else. And then I went to school for CT. I don't even know what they call it. They call it CWT now, the cyber stuff. And I was like 2 weeks from graduation, and I kind of just like, I didn't get to finish up that school. And then they finally turned me into a CTR. And when I was in there, what we do as CTRs was just so cool to me. I really enjoyed going through that school. But with all of that to say that both my husband and I work in similar fields. So while he was a IS in the Coast Guard, all the schools that he attended were Navy schools for cryptology. So we worked in very similar fields and always had mutual friends.
So did you guys reconnect after you joined the Navy just by just staying in touch, or did you guys see each other at a school? Like, what was it that like drew you guys back, right? Like into the same orbit, basically, to go, let's get married and then go on deployment, you know?
Yeah. I guess you made that decision.
Liz, just be honest. Tell him BAH. Tell him BAH.
Oh, ain't no way. I'm sorry. Like, even thinking now, I'm like, no one could pay me to get married. Like, that would just never happen. Like,
let me get that housing allowance. You know what I'm saying? Some of that grocery money. You know.
Hey, you were a division leader, and you were a first class. So you met a lot of people that got married for the BAH.
Yeah, no, that's wild to me. That is so crazy. You could not pay me to be attached to somebody
for $1,300 a month. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's crazy. Let me get that grocery money.
Rough.
Let me get that BAS.
Yeah.
Wild.
So walk us through what you guys were both already in. You just met on vacation, met in a school. Like, how did you guys like kind of?
Well, we had always kept in contact. I had taken leave. We had spent some trips together. And with all of our background, we just kind of decided. I think he was the one that was like, yeah. He's like, I think we should get married. And I was like super scared because I was like, look, like it was before I had gone on my first deployment. We were already kind of talking about some of that stuff. And I was like, well, let's see how this deployment goes, because I've heard nightmares about relationships and deployments and how all that works.
On the same boat. Yeah. But we're in different services.
Yeah. Oh,
it's kind of like if it didn't happen in the same area code, we're good, right?
Well, what I can say is, the easiest thing for me is being in another like seagoing service is there's a lot of things that I don't have to explain. In addition to that, with us being in the same community, right? It's like, I don't have to be like, no, I can't talk to you about what I did at work today. You know, like, I don't have to, we didn't really have those problems. And so actually being on deployment was fairly easy. When he was underway and I was underway, we had like special communications within our space that we were still able to be like, hey, are you good? Are you alive? Like, awesome. So it was actually way more simple than I think I was expecting. But, you know, there's a lot of different challenges and different relationship dynamics. I give a lot of respect to the spouses that are, you know, civilians, and they just like make their way with their other spouse out to sea, and they just like run the home and they work and they got the kids and they do all this crazy stuff. And you know, they're not throwing fits, because we definitely see the opposite when it comes to spouses, especially in seagoing services.
Yeah. Well, I mean, fits are thrown. They're not happy. And it does take a toll for sure. But, you know, that's, again, where you don't get married for the BAH, dude, because you don't just get married to the service people for BAH. Sometimes you marry the girl in town that's looking for the way out for the BAH, and so, or the guy in town, whatever it is. And so it's a lot of times I remember talking to sailors like, are you sure you want to get married? I'm not saying don't get married. All I'm saying is you met him last weekend in a bar and now you're getting married. That seems a little fast. I'm just going to put it out there. I know you've seen The Notebook and they wrote a letter or whatever, but that seems pretty quick. I don't know if you should do it. And then they would. And the worst was when, you know, me and Al, we were CBs. So our deployments, we flew to deployment. We stayed in a place for 7 months, did construction. Dude, there's guys like, I love her, like in Korea and Japan and all that.
Yeah.
They're just trying, like in those days, they were just trying to get back to the United States. And so many of those guys that come back and they're like, she like broke up with me. Like, we told you that was gonna happen, but you know, at the end of the day,
as soon as she got over here, you were done, bro.
Yeah.
Like, sorry.
And now I got to pay for all 6 of her kids. We told you that too. You know what I mean? But it's it's how it works, man. Those are the things that you laugh about nowadays. You're like, man, what are we doing?
How long you been married, Liz?
Man, don't get me to line because I'm the one in the relationship. It's the anniversary date. I forget all that stuff. My husband's the one who remembers that. So 9 years.
Okay.
Yeah, 9 years now.
Nice. Just don't get a break in service.
I did that. I took some reserve time during my marriage. It's cool. We're back on active duty now. We're good. Didn't care for the reserve.
Well, that's
very
good.
much.
So, and how many total years did you do in the Navy active duty?
I did 10 years active duty.
Okay. And then did you go reserves after? Or are you still in the reserves now? Or are you completely out?
No, I did a clean break. Yeah, I had a lot of people talk to me about doing the reserves, but
you would have been super pissed and bored as a CT in the reserves. I promise. You would have been like, "Oh my god, dude, I'm done." Right?
I think there's a lot of people be like, "You'd be so successful, you know, in the reserves," but there were a couple things that I was a little disillusioned with. I think when I came to the end of my service, that I was like, "No, I think I just need a clean break. I need to start over and do something new." And I think I made the right decision.
So what made you come to that realization that it was time? Because you did 10 years, you said, right?
Yeah.
Halfway to retirement. And that's the moment where a lot of people go, I mean, I did 10, I might as well do 20, right? Going to get that retirement. And you made the choice to do the clean break. So for everybody out there that doesn't know, the clean break means I'm done with this shit and I'm out. I'm not doing any more weekend drills. I don't give a shit. I've done my 8, which is all I got to do. You can't call me back for no bullshit unless it's World War III. So what made you decide 10, I'm out, it's time to go?
I had experienced a lot of different things. So I had 2 kids. My first one was born in 2019. My second one in 2022. And I think in having them back to back and just having like, I don't want to toot my own horn, but like I've always been like a super hard charger, and I think I've always operated at a certain level. And so in that time of having those 2 kids, I pursued 2 degrees also, and the amount of qualifications and stuff that I did at my duty station were kind of insane. Like I took on a big workload, and so I think in that time period, just before I decided to separate, I kind of had like a break where I was like, hey, you know, you're kind of all caught up in this, unfortunately, like a meritocracy. I realized that I was in a place where I was starting to align my identity with how well I could perform. And because I was starting to try to balance being a mother and being a wife and being active duty and being this and doing all these things and starting to realize that sometimes those things might slip, I was starting to be really, really hard on myself. So I slipped into a depression. Oh, I see a question here. I'm sorry. CTR is a cryptologic technician. I don't know why I slipped over that. So I kind of slipped into a depression and kind of launched me to do a big self-review. And I had to ask myself, it's like, what is really your goal? And I had to realign in a sense of like, what are my values? And then is what you're doing now really contributing to what you value? And at that point in time, you know, 2019 was crazy with COVID and we didn't know what was going on. And I was like, you know, I don't think I want to be away from my family. You know, I think I want to be here to be able to take my kid to school every day, you know. And that ultimately, when I knew in my heart that I made the decision that I was like, all right, I'm going to go ahead and separate from the Navy, because at the end of the day, like I'm just a number and they're just going to fill someone else to do my job. But the things that are important to me now are outside the Navy. And so that's how I made that decision.
So
is there anything? Yeah, go ahead, Al.
I was going to ask, because I don't want to miss it. What was your transition like? I know we normally ask later, but I want to ask now because I really want to spend some time talking about what you're doing now eventually. But I want to talk about what was your transition out of the service like? What you know, the VA process, right? All that whole transition piece. Was your transition tough, or did you navigate it pretty well? How was your transition? What was that like for you?
So I will say I'm a planner. So I educated myself to the T. I made sure that I had the time to attend like the in-person TAPS classes. I was the person that stayed late after TAPS and asked 20 million questions. I did a lot to prepare. With that being said, everything that could have gone right went right. All my paperwork was correct. I got everything I needed when I separated. I was able to file with the VA. All that stuff came back on time. So everything went well. But I feel like emotionally, there is nothing I could have done to really prepare myself for the transition. And this is where the H.E.R Foundation kind of comes in again, too, because I had moved to Texas kind of thinking that I could reset and move back with my family nearby and things would be great. Unfortunately, I feel like my family was looking for the pre-Navy Elizabeth, and I had a really hard time just kind of like, I don't know, just kind of existing with them. And with that challenge, it made me feel really isolated. And there's something about like, even if you take your leave and knowing like your last day in service is coming up, and once that last day in service just clicks over, it's like something in my brain was just like, you're alone now. It's like, you can't reach your friends. Like they're busy, they're on deployment, like they don't have time to talk to you. And it was like a very isolating mindset. And people had kind of told me that would happen, but in all honesty, is even when people try to explain it to you, I don't think you necessarily understand what the experience is until you go through it. So I would say that was probably the most difficult part of my transition. And also trying to come to terms with, like, you have to find a new purpose, right? And so the H.E.R Foundation really helped out because I called them when I told them I was moving back to Pensacola, and they're like, we're so excited that you're coming back. And that's when they let me know. I had been working with the H.E.R Foundation since about 2022, volunteering with them as active duty. And so when they said, yeah, you're coming back and you're no longer active duty, and they invited me to be a board member. And so I've been a board member with them since I've separated. And I just kind of poured as much of myself as I could into that when we moved back to Pensacola, that doing the events, being there. And so the location is called the Faith House. That's where we actually house the residents, and just interacting with them and interacting with all these other service members that are on the board that are retired service members, and seeing them live and thrive and just make it past that transition, I feel like kind of gave me that sense of community and that hope that, hey, I could get through this funky emotional part of whatever this is. And like, they were just so key in my transition.
I mean, when you get out of the Navy, you're never going to believe anybody when they tell you that that's going to happen to you, because, the military, all the branches, we're all different high schools, right? And all my friends in high school are still going to be my friends forever. And I'm going to be able to talk to them no matter what, because we're BFFs forever. When forever means forever. And when you're 17, 18, leaving high school, it's the best times of your life. And, when you look at the military, a lot of times for people, that's what it is. And then you realize real quick that they don't have time for you. But I was like, those bitches have time, because I remember what we were doing. They ain't doing shit, but they can't, especially in the job you had being in cryptology. It's not like they can talk to you about what's going on, right? And that. So they're just like, what are we going to talk about? Like how bored you were at home today or whatever, So then you get to the point where you're like, well, they probably don't want to hear from me anyway. And then you're like, what do I do? Where in Texas did you move to?
I moved to Conroe, Texas. That's about
Conroe. No wonder you left. You was in the country, girl.
Yeah. I mean, I really thought we were going to like it, because it was like, we're about 4 minutes from Lake Conroe. I was like, I have to be by the water. So maybe
it's not a beach, girl. It's not a beach. No, it's not. Look, me and Ty live in Houston. We know all about you, Rosette. And you couldn't have moved to Galveston either, because you would have been pissed if you would have gone to Galveston.
No, I grew up going to the beaches in Texas. I know exactly what they're like.
Pissed. You're like, what is
dirty lakes? That's what they look like.
Could be worse. You could have been in Mississippi going.
Could have been in Gulfport. I was buddy.
Could have been in Gulfport, bro.
Could have been in Gulfport.
So what got you on the radar of the foundation while you were active duty? How did you get introduced to them? How did you start volunteering? What happened to where you're like, oh, who are these people and what they're doing, and I want to go volunteer?
So the foundation was founded by Nancy Bullock Prevost, and she was a retired cryptologic technician as well. And it's just so interesting because she was a chief at the schoolhouse when I first went through A school. And I just remember admiring her and also fearing her at the same time because she had a presence, you know. And it's like, you definitely, if you were not doing the right thing, it was definitely not around her. And so I remember always like seeing her and be like, oh man, like she's so cool, but also scary. And turns out she was really close with my husband. And so they had known each other for quite some time. And so when she stood up to her foundation, she had let him know like, hey, yeah, I'm doing all of this. And when he and I first got co-located, it was our second co-located station here in Pensacola. He called her and he was like, hey, we're moving down to Pensacola. You know, when you're PCSing, you always try to figure out like who's where, right? You're trying to establish your community before you get there. And she was like, well, I stood up this foundation. He's like, well, my wife is really big into community stuff. And she's like, well, let her know. And so, of course, within days of me getting to Pensacola, where, you know, having phone exchanging and exchanging emails, and I was like, you know, hey, I'm here at Corey Station. I'll start getting volunteers, you know, like active duty military volunteers for anything from the spring cleanups. Is when we do a big spring cleaning of the Faith House. We, you know, change out the gardening. We'll pressure wash. We'll do the hedges. We'll do all that stuff. We also do the all services ball. We've done those in the past, and that's usually like a big gala style deal. And so there's been a lot of events that they've needed volunteers for. And so I would always be there helping. But when I was having those email exchanges with Nancy, we went from consistent communication to no communication out of nowhere. And I was like, that's really strange because, you know, we were talking back and forth. And unfortunately, that's when I learned that she had passed. So in March of 2022, before I could really get involved with the H.E.R Foundation, she had passed. And so with that, I had decided that as long as the foundation was going to continue, that I would assist in the effort. And so that was kind of the motivating factor in keeping in touch with them. And so there is Mr. Willie, as I call him, and Miss Barbara Francis, who is now the president. They really took me under their wing. Like, they saw that I was there. They saw that I wanted to do things, and they always gave me things to do. And when I tell you, like, Nancy had the most beautiful people around her, because she has passed in 2022 and it is now 2026, and the H.E.R Foundation is still thriving. More than that, we're actually looking to expand. We just recently purchased the land directly behind the Faith House, where we plan to build about 6 to 12 tiny homes to help supplement our effort in housing homeless women veterans.
That's amazing. So how was the conversation when your husband's like, hey, I know this lady that does this foundation we're moving. You should go volunteer with her. And then he told you who it was. Did you go, oh my God, are you serious?
I fangirled out a little bit. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. He was probably like, what is going on right now? Like, you have no idea, you know?
Yeah. And it was so cool because she had already transitioned out of the service during this time. So being able to talk to her on the phone, like hearing her super relaxed, she was just like, yeah, you know, it's not a big deal. You just let me know whenever you're free. And I was like, wow, like, this is too cool.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget that. Like, the interactions with her were, even though there were few before she passed, they were amazing. And when I tell you that this woman somehow manages to be in everything that we still do today, it's amazing to me. I think one of the most recent fundraisers I had planned was a Zumba dance-a-thon, you know, like, who would think? I found a venue that was willing to be like, okay, you know, we'll open up. They own like a restaurant. It was 1216 North. It's out here in Pensacola, right? They're like, we'll open up our venue area a little bit early and you guys can come do your Zumba dance-a-thon. And we're talking about Pensacola. And he's like, well, I know the lady who used to run the H.E.R Foundation. And it turns out, you know, this man and Nancy, like, they go way back. They've known each other quite a bit. And I was like, that's crazy. It's like everything we still do here and around this city. She was so passionate about what she did, and she was so embedded in the community. Like to this day, her name still comes up when I talk to different people.
Yeah, she's still pointing you in the right direction.
Right.
Always.
Exactly.
Always. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I will tell you what I've read about the organization. It's amazing. And I'm glad that you're on here. And one reason for that, I was actually talking to someone today, and we were talking about this very thing. It's like, in the community of veterans per se, guy veterans, just call them in. They've got so many different things they can do to go get help and programs and all these things. But me and this guy were talking today about like female veteran community is very underserved in a lot of things, right? There's not a lot of organizations that only focus on what the female veteran needs. And like you said, the young ladies coming in there, or the ladies in general that come in there, you kind of already know some of the stuff they have to go through, right? It's a different dynamic. If you don't mind, can you walk us through like what is the foundation? What do you guys do? What is the goal of it? If someone comes to you guys for help, how does it work? What exactly are the things you guys do for female veterans?
Yeah, absolutely. So first I'll start by saying you pointed out something very important about that specific demographic, like women veterans being underserved. And I think a lot of it is because they're not seen. So what a lot of people don't realize is the difference between people who experience homelessness that are males and people that experience homelessness that are females is that the females will tend to couch surf and not have stable housing. You won't necessarily see them, out in the streets the way you see male homeless, not at the same rate. And so if you don't see it, I think a lot of times people don't think it's a problem. And so,
Barbara, out of sight, out of mind, out of mind type of problem.
And the way we came about was that Nancy, I believe, was at the VA medical center when a lady was telling her, like, she's like, yeah, I'm homeless. And Nancy was like, all right, let's go to the information center. Like, you guys have any resources for this person? And they're like, nah, not really. And Nancy saw that gap there, and she was like, well, there has to be a solution to this. And so was born the H.E.R Foundation. And so with the H.E.R Foundation, it's actually pretty interesting. The Faith Home was donated to us. Like when I tell you that the H.E.R Foundation survives and thrives purely off of community support, I mean it 100%, because we are a nonprofit where everyone is completely volunteer based. Like nobody on the board gets paid to do what they do. We all do it because we feel a calling to do it, So that home was actually donated to Nancy for this purpose specifically. And with that, we have, I would say, like a 1-year program. So I'll kind of rewind a little bit, and we'll talk about how to get into the H.E.R Foundation. So those who are eligible to come to the H.E.R Foundation will be anybody who has served, right? Like if you have a DD 214 and you're female, right, you're eligible to go ahead and come to the H.E.R Foundation, and we'll be able to provide you resources and housing. And the way our system works is like, we're not a homeless shelter, right? We're like a home. We're like a community and a family. So the house that we have now can house up to 10 women. Currently, we have 4 in there. And basically, we have the separate rooms, and we have a community kitchen, and the food that we have in that kitchen is donated from the community as well. So everything from canned goods to fresh meats, all of that comes from the community to help feed the women. So once they're there, to even get in, we do an interview process, right? Because the biggest thing is we are trying to help these women go through the transition of experiencing homelessness. I think my favorite phrase that Barbara says is she likes to help women that are in between blessings, right? So bringing them on board, they go through the interview process. We get to learn a little bit about them, about how they got where they are and where they're trying to go. Then we have designed pretty much a 1-year program. And within that year, we do little progress checks to see where you are. But within that year, we will help you obtain employment as well as stable housing. Sometimes people stay more than a year. If they do, it's a case-by-case basis. And I always kind of compare it to almost like CDBs, when you're in the Navy, you know, it's like, hey, we're gonna do these constant checks on you and make sure you're reaching your goals. So it's very goal oriented, but it's also very community oriented. The women are accountable to themselves and each other, and it creates a really nice community in there. Everyone's productive, everybody has a role. We have a garden in the backyard, we have chickens, you know, we have an office that needs to be ran. We also have a boutique that's filled with clothes that people donate so that the women have clothes to be able to go to interviews and do things like that. And so the women also help manage different parts of the foundation as part of their role in living there in the home as well.
So with your foundation, if somebody comes in there and they go through the interview process, let's say they're in the home and they determine like this isn't working for me and they want to go. If they leave, can they ever come back? Do you guys bring them back? Do you see people that they, you know, because I would imagine a lot of times, I don't care if you're man or woman, if you're a veteran, a lot of times pride gets in the way of taking that help, right? You'll take the initial step to go do it and you'll walk in the door and you're like, this is going to be awesome. And then when you get in there and you see a whole bunch of people like you, some part of us is just like, oh, I'm not as, these people aren't like me. I shouldn't be here. And then you go away, right? And so if they do come back, is there a new interview process? Is there more that you got to talk to them about? Is there like, I don't know what the rules are, but is there more rules if you have to come back? Like, how does that work?
It's all situational. So, you know, if it's just an issue of pride, we're always going to open our doors, right? Unfortunately, there are some other contributing factors to homelessness, right? When we start talking about like addiction and things like that, we do have to kind of set our boundaries when it comes to stuff like that. But I'll tell you, we have taken plenty women. We have resources like VA resources. If they're not eligible for VA care, we have Banyan that actually volunteers to provide support for those specific cases. And so, yeah, we've had women that have had to come back and forth. And then, you know, just to kind of think about it and put into perspective, I was actually looking up a couple different statistics earlier, is that most people experiencing homelessness, right, about 91% of the people who actually make it through homelessness, they stay in stable housing, right? So like the odds are pretty good, but we do have our onesie twosies that will kind of come back and forth. But as long as they're willing to follow the rules of the house and, you know, they're respectful to the other residents there, we definitely have people who will come back. With that being said, I also want to talk about the demographics of the residents that we've seen over periods of time. The average age of women veterans that are experiencing homelessness that come through, so our residents, is 64. But we've also seen as young as 22, you know, but there is, I don't want to call it like epidemic, but there is an increased amount of women veterans that are experiencing homelessness that are of a much mature age, right? So we're talking 60s and above. And that's part of the reason why we were doing our expansion, because we want to build those tiny homes with the option to offer longer term housing, especially for the more elderly population that comes through here that still needs that kind of community support and probably shouldn't be living on their own to begin with.
Yeah. So what have you guys, in your experience and being with the foundation, is there something that points to older veterans being in that homeless situation over others? Is it a spouse passing away? Is it a divorce? Is it what is having people so much older experiencing that more than any other demographic you guys are looking at?
I think there's so many factors that play into that. I think especially with women, you know, a lot of the women who join the service that are older now, right, may have chosen to not have children, or they do have children, but the children are not local and kind of have their own lives, or they don't have the best relationship with their children, right? So essentially they're out here and they're isolated and they're alone. And once they separated from service, they no longer have that connection either. And so that's what the H.E.R Foundation kind of offers instead. It's like, hey, like, you remember what it felt like to be a part of something? Like, you can actually still feel that here too. And that works as a motivator for them to continue working on themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. So if somebody is looking to like, how do people find you? Do you guys, is it a word of mouth? Do you guys, I'm sure you guys have social media pages and I've seen them, you talk about the things you guys do, but what is it that gets people to you? Because I'm sure let's just throw it out there now. There's probably, you guys can house 10 people. I guarantee you there's 6 people that could definitely use the help out there. Like, how do you guys reach them? What is your outreach like? How do people just learn about you guys and what you do?
Yeah, we have a few different mediums. So the first one, like you said, is social media. We also attend a lot of community events that they have out here in Pensacola, whether they're just like county resource events or they're specific events held, at different churches or missionaries or other areas. We do a lot of work with other nonprofits. And so if we get invited, we'll definitely go. We've gone to everything. We've gone to car shows. If they're like, hey, you can put an informational tent out here, we'd like to have you guys. We go there and we talk about what we do. In addition to that, of course, word of mouth referrals. And you can also dial 211 and they'd be able to provide you the resource to get in contact with us, as well as talking directly with the VA.
Oh, so the VA is able to refer people to you as well.
Yes. Yeah.
That's good.
We actually have a pretty good working relationship with, at least in this region, with Biloxi. So the Biloxi VA will actually call us and say, hey, we have this person. And thanks to the Gatsby girls of the Pensacola, that crew, they actually helped us with being able to get a van for the foundation. And so that van is how we go to pick up other residents that may be coming for other regions, and also to provide stable transportation for the women who are living in the home to be able to go to appointments and attend their interviews.
That's amazing. I'm sorry, I think I cut you off.
No, you're good. No, you're good, brother. I was just going to ask. So in addition to the individuals getting resources and coming out and helping, how can somebody that wants to be involved in your organization get involved? How can the veterans that are out here listening right now, or people in the community that want to be involved or want to do something? We preach a lot on this show about veterans getting involved and being a part of your community and doing something, getting off the couch and getting involved. How can someone get involved or volunteer for your organization?
So with volunteering, the biggest thing with us is like, your time is everything. I'll give an example from the Marine Corps League. We have Mr. Bobby Rivera, and we call him Gunny. And he comes out here and he builds sheds and he assembles things. And so skills are always super necessary for us, especially now that we're thinking about the expansion. I think just recently we had to look for someone to help us clear the land. And so if you just want to spend time and you have administrative skills, we have an office and a phone where right now it's just ran by volunteers. So any board member goes in there and essentially, stands a watch. We also do through donations, or we do special events, like we do the spring cleaning. Or you can come in and you can say, hey, like, what does this house need? Like, I have the ability to do X, Y, and Z, and we will find a place to place the skill. Those things are always super beneficial, and, they help increase the quality of life of the residents there and make it a little bit easier for us to do what we do. I'm seeing a couple of questions in the chat here. Do you want me to address those?
We're gonna hit those questions momentarily, but I don't know if you've watched our show in preparation for this one. But there's fire in the background. That means Ty is ready to ask you hot seat questions.
Okay.
But we're going to come back because there's a lot of questions people are asking that I really want to give the time for you to be able to answer them.
Okay.
Because again, like I've told you, like this demographic of veteran, it is very underserved. There's not a lot of programs that only help the women veterans out there. And there's a lot of people with questions. So I just want to make sure that you have the time to answer them for them, or maybe help people understand more. Me and Al will be right back.
All right, I think I was on. Had some issues there, so sorry, Elizabeth. I love your story. You're probably one of my favorite guests already. Really appreciate you very much. I think I'm going to blind invite your husband to be a guest on the show, because I don't think we've had a Coast Guard guy on. So it'd be cool to hear their perspective, growing up, going through kind of like we do the interview. Love your story. Got some easy questions here for you for the hot seat. All right, what's your favorite genre of music?
Jazz.
Okay, best 3 jazz musicians of all time.
Well, I would have to say my favorite, Wynton Marsalis. It will go Duke Ellington, and then, oh man, this is hard. Wynton Kelly.
Okay, I don't know Wynton Kelly, but any Marsalis, and I really love Harry Connick Jr. when it comes to kind of new stuff. But yeah, appreciate that answer. What's the most unique place on earth you've ever visited?
Man, I would say, I know maybe it's normal for other people, but Sedona, Arizona. It looks like you're in a different planet.
Yeah, I lived out in Las Cruces. That's where my 13-year-old son was born. Love the culture out there. We actually almost moved back to Albuquerque to retire. I think I know what this answer is going to be, but I'm going to ask. 1 hour conversation with anybody from history. Who's it going to be and what you're going to talk about?
Oh, man. All right. Conversation with anybody from history. I'm not going to lie. That one made me kind of nervous. I got caught off guard. From history, or they just have to like not be alive anymore? Because I would love to talk to Octavia E. Butler, and she's like a Black sci-fi author, and I'm pretty sure she saw the future when she was writing her book. So I would love to sit down and talk to her.
Perfect, love it. All right, if you had the ability to go back in time and fix past mistakes or see your future, which one would it be?
Can I choose neither?
Yeah, absolutely. What would your answer be?
Yeah, neither. I don't want to go back and change anything. I feel like it's the only reason why I'm here when I'm here. And I don't want to see anything in the future because I'm worried that then I'm going to get some sort of bias and try to make decisions that are going to get me there.
That's what I'm talking about. Appreciate that. All right. What drives you in life as of today?
My kids. Having my kids and I want them to see what it's like to live a full life so that they grow up and do the same.
Love that answer. I have 6 kids. Most of them are adults now, and I'm a grandfather. So Al was at my house, and we were teaching my grandson BRM, or he was down. I was taking pictures. Love that. Great answer. Is there anything that keeps you up at night?
Yeah, my anxiety.
Right. Yeah, you said that anxiety seems to come hand in hand with being a hard charger.
Yeah.
Because you care. All right, what's the biggest lesson that you learned while in the military that you still use today?
Oh, man. Not to take people for granted. Like the fact that you can literally learn from anybody. It can be somebody who has more experience than you. It can be somebody who has less experience than you. You never know who you're going to take lessons from.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Love that. First concert and best concert.
My first concert was actually a salsa concert. I got to see Oscar de Leon on stage in Miami for the Calle Ocho Festival. And my best concert would have to be, I was very into soca and carnival in Miami. So I got to see Marshall Montano, and that was like my best concert.
That's amazing. Love it. I don't know either one of those artists, but like you said, you learn new stuff, and that makes me want to go Google that. So appreciate that. All right, here's the question everybody wants to know. Who's the greatest of all time? Michael Jackson or Prince?
Prince.
And why? Why Prince?
I'm such a Prince fan. I don't think there's a single Prince song that I do not love. Prince has a musical, Purple Rain. How can you beat that? His outfits were super fly. I don't know. Just Prince has always been a favorite for me.
Oh yeah, I've been preaching on Prince for a while here. I got a video for us. So we're 150, or excuse me, 148 episodes in, and it is now 53 Prince, 47 Michael. It's contentious, but like I think most really intelligent people are picking Prince. I appreciate you. Last question. Before I get to that, I really respect the CTR part of your rate when you were in the Navy. My brother was an ET in the Navy and then went to Great Lakes and then worked at Motorola. So I had a great transition. I've been blessed, and it seems like all the hard stuff that got to, that was in your past, it looks like you've turned that into a beam, and I applaud you. You were one of my favorite guests in the 150 shows we've had. And, I knew nothing about you because Matt got it. And so I was reading about it, and it made me start thinking about, where you could have ended up if I hadn't joined the military. So thank you very much for that. Love the sentiment. Last question. What can we do to get better as a podcast? I'll bring the guys back in for this one.
Oh, man. You guys are awesome. I feel like you're so easy to talk to. Man, I couldn't think of anything else you could do better. This is my first time experiencing something like this, but definitely not my first time listening to a podcast. So you guys were just super organized and easy to talk to. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. We got our own little shtick. I love it when Matt brings new people because I love learning new shit all the time. I have military grade ADHD, so I know that you're going to have people hopefully signing up. We'll send some reels out, and really I'm going to start tagging y'all, get some of the skills that are needed, donations that are needed to make the Honor Her Foundation freaking awesome. Love it. Appreciate you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. So to echo the sentiment, it's good to hear your story, and I'm glad that everything has worked out for what you're doing. And I love what you guys are doing. One question I do have before we get into a couple of the questions that some of our listeners have. I heard you say that you guys work with Biloxi, right? But is there a distance that you guys won't go to bring somebody in to help them? And a lot of that has to do with logistics. A lot of it has to do with cost. But what if somebody needed help in New York, or somebody needed help in, Virginia, whatever? Like, have you guys experienced that before? Do you have referrals for that? How do you guys work those kind of things?
Yes, if they get in contact with us, any one of the ways, like we said, either 211 through their local VA, they can reach out to us, or also our contact information is on the website. So we have like a contact us area. If they write in there, we sometimes we get emails in the middle of the night, and it's people being like, hey, I'm homeless and I need help. And we're like, all right, cool. Let's get this process started. So we've taken women from California, New York, Texas. If we can speak with you and get some stuff worked out, we will find a way to bring you into the faith house and get you started.
That is amazing. I love to hear that, because again, like I said, there may be 6 women that need help in Pensacola, but I guarantee you there's 6 people that need help in the country, right? And so, again, if you're somebody out there listening, or somebody that needs help, Liz and her team, they're there for you. You just got to reach out to them. Reach out to us, and we'll connect you with them. Whatever you got to do, it doesn't matter. But I just love to hear that there is like that safe space and that place for them to be able to grow and get back into the swing of things. What you guys do there at your organization is a lot like, I don't know if you've ever heard of the PTSD Foundation of America, Camp Hope here in Houston. It's a little bit similar to what they do. And you guys are the opposite end of the spectrum, to be honest. And I'm going to hook you guys in with Camp Hope. I want to make sure you guys get connected, because Camp Hope only services male combat veterans, right? So if it's a female that needs the help, you guys can help provide. A lot of times they don't have the facilities for that. So if there's a way for them to help somebody, I definitely think you guys would be able to work together, especially when it comes to the female demographic, for sure.
Absolutely. I would love that. And, Houston is maybe 8 hours from here, so it's definitely.
Ain't nothing but a drive. I do it all the time. I don't go to Pensacola.
Okay, I just don't enjoy the drive through Louisiana.
Nobody does. Trust me. Driving through Baton Rouge.
Damn, bro. What?
Hey, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, bro. I drove through there and I was like, I don't have enough bullets in my car to protect me and my brother-in-law if some shit pops off. I'm like, oh man, we need to get off this road.
That's crazy. Well, that's because you took the wrong exit, dude. You put
I did,
yourself
and I
right
was
next
like,
to the LSU campus in the hood.
"Ooh,
For
buddy."
whatever reason, your Duval Jacksonville ass finds the hood no matter where you go.
And bro,
We found the hood in North Dakota, dude.
I'm drowned. I'm just drawn to it, bro. It calls me.
I know. So don't pretend like you're not comfortable when you get there.
I love it, dude. It's my stomach grounds.
Now everybody with you's nervous, but you're like,
Oh,
yeah,
everybody
we'll
with
be
me in the
good,
car
don't
is
worry
like,
about it.
they're ducking down, laying their seats back. I'm like, we gonna be all right, bro.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so Ty, I know that you have probably the questions from our listeners there. So if you want, we can just fire them through it, Liz, so that she has an opportunity to answer them, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, we may have covered this because I heard you talk about the after a year, but here's one question from Amber. After their year, what does the next transition look like?
So after that year, it depends on where they are at that year mark, right? So we let them know, like, hey, we're coming on that year mark. We're getting ready to sit down and have that meeting. We're going to see where you are, right? And so the whole idea is at that year mark that we can get them stable housing and or a stable job, right? So if we hit that year mark and they have, one but not the other, for example, like hey, I have 5 interviews lined up and I'm working on them. We'll say, okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to extend you for about 6 weeks or 8 weeks, and then we're going to see where you are. We do smaller extensions to make sure that we're still helping them meet their goals and complete their transition. So it's all just very circumstantial. It depends on where they are. But at that 1 year mark, it's no surprise that 1 year mark is coming up because we meet with them, I believe, at the 3, at the 6, and then at the 12 month.
Do you, and just to add on to that question just a little bit, what kind of, is there like an after program follow-up that you guys do with people that have been there before? Do you guys keep in touch with them? Do you see how it's going? Because again, not that you're ever going to know 100% success rate in anything that you do, but do you guys have like a follow-on that you do to follow up with everybody that's going through? I'm sure they probably come out and volunteer and all that, but I mean.
So the beautiful thing about the way the Faith House works, and especially the women that are residents in the home around the same time, is that they look out for each other. And so when one is getting ready to hit their year mark and they're like, hey, I've got my job, or I found my housing and I've got all my stuff situated, like they help each other move into these homes, And so most of them stay local here in Pensacola, and that's a big help too. So when they move into these areas, a lot of times they don't move very far from the Faith House, or they're still local in Pensacola. And, the women stay a community. They still go out and see each other once they've transitioned out of the Faith House. And just the way that, especially like Barbara and Willie and the rest of the board members, we're so involved. When I tell you we're really like a family, it's like the residents there, they have our phone numbers. We see them regularly. When we do events, the residents always come with us. And so we build very familial bonds. And so keeping in contact doesn't necessarily feel like it's like, part of the system where we're like, hey, we need to make sure this person's doing well. But it's kind of something that just happens organically.
I love that. I think that's the answer that you want to give when it comes to an organization like that, right? Not that you have to follow up with people, but you just like, again, you've built it's like being in the military, when you serve for 20 years, there's always those people you can call no matter what, that they'll talk to you, right? And you guys are building that community. Al talks about it a lot, of call somebody and see how they're doing. You have a whole community of people that do that for each other. That's just amazing. I love that.
Yeah, here's the next question. I want to make sure I covered this from Doc Powell. Are there any VA partnerships there to collaborate for long-term? Like the Kerrville VA has apartments next to the VA for long-term, non-medical housing, rent paid, but anything like that to send them?
The Pensacola VA, from what I know of, doesn't have anything like that in the moment. And I think that's part of what the H.E.R Foundation does to kind of fill in that gap, and what we're intending on doing once we complete our expansion as well. Unfortunately, I just don't think I don't know why the Pensacola VA doesn't have those resources. That sounds really interesting though, and I'm glad that's available somewhere at least.
Well, I mean, if you figure being in Pensacola, you're in a fleet active duty concentrated area, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of the people that are there, there is a huge retired community in Pensacola, but the majority of people that you see are active duty sailors, and it's a school command base, right? So, 80% of the people are in and out of there. And like, 3 to 6 months. There's just a constant rotation. So they're not making an excuse for the VA, but there's probably just not, it's just not something they see. You know what I mean? It's not a like in front of their face kind of thing.
Yeah.
Should be, but.
Yeah, I was talking the other night about on the Tip of the Spear podcast that we do about how the way the VA kind of skews what GWAT veterans, men or women, need is kind of antiquated. So I love that the VA is really starting to spread out and do VA grants for the Project Zero adventure therapy, because having a tribe is the big thing. And I'm going to ask this next question too. It says, how do you feed them through donations? But I want to add to that, as you mentioned earlier, they had a garden in the back. So they're learning how to garden. They're learning how to do their own food. Speak on that a little bit.
Yeah. So the garden that we have currently, it grows, they got peppers, they got tomatoes, they got herbs, and it is a responsibility to tend to the garden as well. I mean, we have women in there with like just awesome skills. I think one lady turned a filing cabinet into an actual garden bed, and even painted the outside like rectangles as bricks to make it look like a brick garden bed. But we have that when it comes to the garden. And then as far as feeding them through donations, some people will come by and drop off canned goods. Some people will actually like donate meats. Some people will order meals. So especially around the holidays, we'll have people that will go ahead and donate, like turkey dinners or things like that for them. But we tend to do holiday meals as a family. So Thanksgiving, it's all the board members and the residents will take time to eat together and spend time together. And it's the same thing through the Christmas holidays as well.
Nice. Excellent. And then we got one from Carlos Calzada. Do you also assist them with VA disability claims or point them in the right direction?
Absolutely. So 2 of the volunteers and board members of the H.E.R Foundation have worked with the VA filing disability claims. And so they're super knowledgeable on all of that. And they assist in helping the residents become educated on the process and look through their records to provide them assistance with that.
Good. That's awesome.
Nice.
Excellent.
So are you guys, with their work with the VA, are you guys like labeled as a VSO where you guys can actually help them out and be like named as the people that can talk to them, or do they still need to pick somebody different?
They would still need to go through. So like Pensacola has like the VSO that will file. So our women, they used to be VSOs. They're no longer VSOs, but they still provide that knowledge and help them actually file.
Sounds like they need to get active again and make, honor her a VSO that, honestly, that women can go to help with their claims, right? Because again, when we're talking about female veterans, the claims that are being made for female veterans can be very complicated sometimes, based on all the bullshit sometimes they got to deal with in the military, right? So it's not just the average guy that just is mad because we're fucking men and we just hate everything. There's complexities to everybody's stuff, but there is a lot of complexities that, again, I wouldn't understand, right? If I was helping a female veteran fill out a claim, just like at the same time, someone who'd never served, you don't want to go talk to them about your problems, right? Because they can't relate. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things. So I'm voting for you guys to become a VSO. I don't know. You should probably just do it.
I would definitely have to bring that to the board. I see somebody says a veterans cookbook. We started a movement. We had put out on social media for people to send us a story along with a recipe, something that impacted them during their time in service, to put together a veteran cookbook. And I don't know if our reach just wasn't great enough, but I think we didn't get very many submissions. And so if people are up for submitting something, that's definitely something we have for action. And we would like to continue with that project.
Done. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's make a cookbook. We'll have Al's fucked over twice brisket.
I know we won't.
Don't give me that recipe. I'm good on that.
You don't want that. Trust me. Yeah, it was bad. You don't want it. I got some good recipes, but you don't want that.
Oh man.
Well, our show's involved with another show called the So Smoking Gooder Show. I'm sure we can get some good recipes for a lot of meats, a lot of drinks, sides. They do beans, so we get some good recipes going.
Guys,
a lot of veteran cookers here in the Texas barbecue world.
For sure.
First of all, my brisket was sad, and I wouldn't have fed it to you or your dogs. So don't worry about that making the cookbook. Don't worry about it.
Dude, you're not even see. Look, this is why Al told y'all today. Even if you think your kid looks good, sometimes they don't. So don't put them on social media. You know what I mean? Al, I did not get a picture of
you damn sure did
barbecue.
You damn sure didn't.
Yeah. We normally get those pictures, but what we should have got is a picture of April like swinging the frying pan at him because he messed it up. That's what we should have got.
She really hurt my pride. I cried.
I mean, did she or did you just fuck it up, dude?
She hurt my pride.
Accountability, bro. Accountability.
Whatever.
Liz, I really appreciate you coming on the show. It's been great getting to know you. Hopefully, if you need this show, like to me, the way you talk about it, you can see the passion. If you need this show, you can chop it up any way you want to for your marketing. I love what you do. Definitely going to keep in touch.
And I'm local, Liz. If you need anything or need help, I know electricians, and I know if you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out. So.
Okay, well, we'll definitely be in contact because with this expansion, I'm sure we're gonna have our hands full.
I'll swing a hammer.
Let's go. Let's go get some of these lazy ass CBs from Gulfport to come build some houses, bro.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Liz Johnson with the Honor Her Foundation. Appreciate you.
And Liz, I don't know how much time you have. We normally close the show out here in a minute. It's not going to be super long time, but I did have some other questions for you, or I'll just give you a call tomorrow or something like that. I don't know how much time you got, but
no,
I did want to ask you
free.
a couple of other things. But thank you for coming. And if you ever need to throw something out there, make an announcement, send a message. It doesn't matter what it is. Your family now. You can come back on anytime you want.
Sweet. Thank you so much.
Well, I'll drop you down. Don't hang up, Liz, and we'll do the sports. We'll stop the show here in just a few minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, Liz Johnson.
Yep.
All right, let's do the sports and we can get on out of here. So the sports was Ryan Miller. Yeah. I wanted to make sure give you a shout out. Whenever you do get your stuff in the mail, make sure you send us a picture so we can rep you out here.
He should have it in 3 days.
3 days. There we go.
Yeah.
Future guest next week, we have Kevin Lombardo, United States Air Force veteran, and Boots to Beaches nonprofit. So
he likes
really excited for
beers.
that.
This is going to be a good one.
I like him already. I mean, outside the beer part, at least.
You might be able to outdrink him.
I doubt it. That was a pretty big beer. That beer is taller than I am.
Yeah, but that was probably his first and last beer. We're going to have to ask that question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Matthew, take us on out, bro.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's been 2 weeks since I've been here in the beginning of the show. I missed you guys. I love being here on Thursday nights. I love getting to talk to and meet interesting people that do interesting things for our veteran community. Thank you, Liz, for coming on. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your husband's service. Thank you for everything you do for our women warriors out there that need a little bit of help. Thank you to everybody that listened. Thank you to all the questions. One last thing. Go on to YouTube, subscribe to the podcast so that when we're having interesting and amazing guests on, you get notified. But the next thing you need to do is, just like we tell you to call somebody, share it with somebody, because everybody can use a little pick-me-up every once in a while. So subscribe to us on YouTube, and then you can catch the episode shortly thereafter on anywhere you get your podcasts from. But YouTube is the place to see us live. And I appreciate being here with everybody. And if you have a question or you trying to tell your story, reach out to us. And with that, I'm out.
So real quick and real easy, I'm going to beat the dead horse. This week, reach out to somebody and just text, call, Facebook, message. I don't know. Anything you got to do to reach out to one of your battle buddies and just check on them this week and make sure they're doing okay. Make sure that they just they know that you love them and that you're an ear for them to talk to and vent to. Make sure you're reaching out to somebody this week we don't need to lose another veteran because we failed to act and we didn't reach out. So reach out to somebody and just tell them you love them. So that's all I got. Peace.
Yeah, hold on. I'm going to leave you on here for this one. So this is CIA Bob, and he's a big listener to the show. Just to let you know, anything we say about Bob is just us messing with him. That's the way veterans talk to each other. So all you lawyer types, any type of sour old family or friends, what CIA Bob talks about and us joking with him, there's no stolen valor there. I served with him back in 2003. So you can call him an asshole. You can call him anything you want to, but don't call him stolen valor. Appreciate you.
Yeah. Well, and Bob. If you don't like Bob Mayer, you can you know what you can do for me from the back. I don't give a shit. We joke and we talk shit. If you don't like it, Mr. Lawyer Man or whoever you are, give me a call. We'll talk about it. Punk ass bitch.
So for our hero, for Matt Johnson, I am Ty Cobb. We appreciate you, and be a friend. Tell a friend something nice and might save their life. I love you, Pat McAfee.
If you or someone you know is in crisis, contact the Veterans Crisis Line at 1-800-273-8255. Then press 1.